This is Ozzy Nareen of the planetary freighter ship Demeter 227. I am marooned on planet Vesta, alone, seeking rescue. Is there anybody out there?
I'll inform the bosses, but I doubt they'll sink any resources into trying to find them.
Well, what if there are survivors?
Well, for their sake, let's hope there aren't any.
I'm detecting a number of unknown life forms coming our way. I suggest we leave as soon as possible.
Crash into the sci-fi masterpiece from Charles Hotner and Joe Bennett, co-creator of Common Side Effects. Scavengers Reign returns home for a month-long Toonami event starting Saturday, September 5th at midnight. Beauty and the Beast.
Greetings, listeners. Welcome to a new episode of our podcast, Toonami Therapy, a podcast where we talk about anime and other things we've been watching. I'm Michael.
Yo, hello, I'm Tommy.
Yep, and we're coming to you not live, actually probably several days afterwards, but we're recording on August 12th of 2026, which I try to always mention just for posterity. Oh. All right, well, we apparently finally got some news. Well, okay, two bits of news. First, I don't think we discussed it in the last episode because we learned about it after we recorded, but they mentioned that we found out after Fully Coolly Alternative is done with, they're just going to give us 2 weeks of My Adventure with Superman marathons.
Mm-hmm.
And
Coolly grunge at 3 a.m.
Yeah. Did you see the you might not have, because I think it was just like earlier today. We know one show that's coming. We don't know what the schedule will be. It's apparently I just had it up. What was its name again? Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it was even on like their Facebook yet, though. Adult Swim mentioned it was coming to Toonami. They are going to be showing Scavengers Reign, which was a cartoon that was on Netflix. It's not an anime, but that's going to be airing. It makes a little sense. So did you ever see the Scavengers short film? It was like 7 minutes long. I know they aired it on Toonami at some point a long time ago.
No, I never saw it.
Okay. Well, apparently Netflix decided, let's make that into a show. And they did. And then they canceled it after one season. But it's coming to Toonami, which I guess makes some sense because I know they aired it then. I don't know if it originally aired on Toonami. I just know I saw it at one point on Toonami.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have that. Just in case you're wondering, I did look it up, and by look it up, I mean I went to ChatGPT and asked it. So take that with a grain of salt, but it said the season does not end on a cliffhanger. So that sounds at least we won't get a cliffhanger unless it's wrong, which sometimes is, but I didn't want to look any further and double check with, human posts because I didn't want to spoil myself on things. So that's all I'm going to have for now. All right. Anything else to talk about before we start?
No, not really.
All right. So, all right, time to discuss, I guess, the stuff on Toonami and the other stuff. So, we've got My Adventures with Superman, episode 29. So, Clark is over in the, he's gone back to the fortress, or do they ever call it the Fortress of Solitude in the show? I can't remember. Anyway, he meets up with I think it's a different version of Brainiac than the one they fought before. But anyway, it's one that's from Krypton. And he basically says, if you want your powers back, you must pass this test by doing this thing from the past. And it's not quite. And he has to fight the enemies that attack the guys that were attacking before. And he does that, but then realize, wait, they're not invaders, they're refugees. So he just wins them over without, further attacking them. And then Brainiac acts all annoyed, and you find out that he was the duplicate of one of them, and he thinks that if the weak don't take over, the strong don't govern the weak, then he means that his servitude wasn't for anything. So he gets angry and makes the other Kryptonian guy who's with Clark attack him. And meanwhile, everyone else is just getting ready to fight the guy, the one who went into the time stream. By the way, last episode, I think I said he took Kara with him. I'm sorry, I got mixed up. Kara got beaten, but she wasn't taken with him. My mistake. So yeah, so most likely what will happen is that Clark will get the powers back, and then he'll show up in time to save the day.
Or maybe he'll end on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's the other possibility. I'm just assuming no cliffhanger. They haven't announced another season, but a lot of times they only do that after the last episode airs. That's what they do all the time with anime. They wait until like the last episode of a season airs, and then they say, by the way, we have another season coming. So, stuff happened in this episode, I guess.
Yeah. Now, why does Kara always say everyone's full name whenever she addresses them?
I'm not sure if they ever gave a direct explanation. I mean, I assume that she's supposed to be a bit socially awkward, but I don't know exactly how it translates to that, especially because anyone could have just said, hey, it's a little weird to always call people by their full name, just say their first name. So I don't know if they ever gave a specific explanation for that.
Okay, so that just her character.
So yeah, I don't know. It was okay. I just wasn't super into it. I will say I was a little surprised because I was like, I was thinking, okay, there's like a 50% chance that when Clark says, nah, I won't fight the guys, there's no need to anymore, Brainiac would like say, okay, well, you pass, and that whole thing was a secret test. But they didn't actually do that. Although if that's not the case, it does make me think, I mean, you could have just this is all apparently virtual reality, I assume. You could just go all massacre on them and then get the powers back if that's what you need, because they're not real. Or are they? It was slightly ambiguous, but it's obviously not time travel, so I don't know exactly what's going on there. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the last episode, whether we get an ending that's kind of like rushed, or whether it'll be a cliffhanger, or what. I honestly think it would be funny if he gets his powers back and then he shows up and everything's already been like resolved, and they say, oh no, we handled everything, but I'm glad you got your powers back.
Yeah, that's actually probably likely to happen because they have tried their best to make Superman into a wimp. So I'm sure Superman's not going to be the one who saves the day. They'll make sure it's Kara or one of the children, but it won't be Superman.
Maybe he'll become Superman and his hair will turn yellow and stuff like Dragon Ball. Like, there's the Super Saiyan. Well, he's a Superman.
Super duper.
I had a feeling you would say that.
Yeah, I always say that.
Superduperman. All right. Okay, so we move on. We've got Fully Cool Alternative episodes 3 and 4. So the first of these episodes is this plot about that about like this sort of like making things for a fashion show, and then Haruko just kind of ends up showing up in it and doing some stuff. And then the fourth episode is about Kana having this sort of crush on this guy and them kind of getting together, but then not deciding not to like go love stuff. And then Haruko is kind of in it sometimes. Like that's these episodes. It's just regular slice of life stuff. And then Haruko just shows up sometimes to do wacky stuff and sometimes fight monsters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why I'm enjoying this a lot more than I did the first time around. Like, I'm actually enjoying these episodes, which is weird because usually I like things less the second time I see them. But for some reason these have grown on me a little bit. So I don't really have much to complain about with these episodes. They just were average or so. So not bad.
Yeah, there's some like decent stuffing here. It just does feel weird, like we're just having almost two different shows where we've got this regular stuff, and then Haruko just keeps coming in to it for steers to like. There's that weird part where she tells them, "Take off all your clothes," and they just go, "Okay," and I'm just like, "What? Why didn't you ask why first?" That was just so weird. Anyway, it's not even used for fan service or anything. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not complaining about that exactly, but it just made it feel even more like, why is this here? But yeah, it just the dissonance between the two. Maybe that was intentional, but it was reminding me about this. Did you ever hear a Smile of the Ars Notoria? I think it was called.
No, I haven't.
It was this anime, and it was very weird. So it was based on some mobile game that ironically I think got shut down like within a year after the anime aired. But the plot, the anime was mostly basically a cute girls doing cute things, like anime about these girls who go to this magic school. And then each episode would also have this completely unrelated plot that's really dark and violent about these like knights going and fighting people. And then you get to the final episode, and they never connect. There's no if there's any relation between these two completely different stories, it is never revealed. It's very it's very weird. I don't know. Maybe it makes more sense in the game or something, but it was that's just what I've heard about it. Yeah, it looks like they're going to finally intersect, and then because this door is opening in one of them, and the other guys are opening the door, but nope, completely different doors, no relation to each other. Very weird.
That sounds pretty funny. So it's kind of like Garfield and Friends, where U.S. Acres shows up in the middle of every episode, and that never ties into the Garfield portion of the stuff.
Yeah, kind of like that, except it'd be if if U.S. Acres was like it'd be kind of like what's a good way to put it? It'd be like if Garfield and Friends, and in the middle of it, instead of U.S. Acres, you had like stuff from Evangelion. Okay. So, yeah, that's Fooly Cooly alternative. Then we've got One Piece episode 788. All right, so Sanji's siblings basically end this like there's some long-lasting war. Well, they just go in and they just solve the thing, I guess, by just beating everyone. The other guys are, then there's some stuff about them fighting, the main characters fighting centipedes. And then there's a bunch of stuff about Big Mom, who gets really hungry and she just and then just starts devouring everything and causing havoc, and all her minions have to like try to evacuate places because she's just eating everything. And yeah, that's the episode.
Yeah, and they spent a lot of time on this whole navigating thing where Luffy was first doing the wheel, then it was Nami, then it was Brook, and uh and then there was the thing about who was gonna make the food. Was it gonna be Luffy or Nami? And I have no idea if any of that stuff was just padding or filler or whatever. But yeah, they really stretched that part out in this episode. So that was the part I remember the most because it's the part that took the longest. The important stuff was kind of, not given as much time. So yeah.
Yeah, let me. I didn't think to check. Normally I like look at the manga to try to see what's particular filler. Let me check quick on this. Thank you, One Piece Wiki, for telling me not only the specific chapters but even the pages that these things are on. Okay, let's see. So it's not in chapter 828. Oh, and in case you're wondering, this episode was more than half a chapter. It looks like around 2/3 of a chapter when you combine the parts from them together. All right, let me just glance at trying to glance this thing.
Sorry, I lost sound for a minute there.
Oh, sorry, I actually just stopped talking.
Oh, okay.
I'm just, yeah, it looks like that stuff was from the manga. It's possible it was elongated in the anime though. So I'd have to pull up the anime again and just compare them
Yeah.
to find out. But it does Luffy trying to do the stuff and some of the others kind of trying to help. That's there, but the way you described it made me think maybe they did pad some stuff out with extra things, but I don't know. I'd have to, like I said, I need it right in front of me, and I don't want to hold up everyone while I try to pull up that specific part of the episode and probably spend several minutes having to watch it. So
Yeah.
but it's the well, hang on. As long as I'm on the One Piece wiki for that episode, maybe it'll tell. Maybe if anime notes. Let me see if it mentions. It says what anime adds the following. I don't see anything specific mentioned about that thing. So I'm sure they padded it out in the usual ways. I don't think they did that. Although it does mention that they fought 2 centipedes in the anime. There was only 1 in the manga.
Mhm.
You add in another and you get to pad it out. So yeah. Okay. So that's One Piece. It once again advanced about 2/3 of a chapter. Oh boy. Oh, One Piece anime. So there we go with that. Finally, we've got IGPX episode 7.
Okay, so most of this episode is a plot about one of the engineers or mechanics, whatever you want to call them, on Team Satomi, who has a elderly mother and father, and his mother decides that she's going to fake being sick in order to get him to come visit her. And so most of the episode is just getting him to finally see his mother, and then for her to tell him, I was just fooling. And it's like, oh yeah, I knew that the whole time. And it's like, well, what was the point of all that then? If everyone in this situation knew the truth, then why was anyone faking anything? That made no sense. Plus, it's the All-Star race, and I guess it's kind of like NASCAR that has an All-Star race where everyone goes to it. It's not like only for certain teams or certain players. And for some reason, Liz does arm wrestling, which didn't make any sense. And then, oh man, now I can't. What's his name again? Kanzuki?
Um, well, who are you talking about
The main
specifically?
character. The main
Oh,
character.
that's Takeshi.
Takeshi, that's it. Man, I don't know where I got that name from. Yeah, so he goes and he does really well, but he didn't break Cunningham's record, so he's mad at himself. And so yeah. Oh, and this girl decides that she's gonna be his girlfriend, and she plays for another team, so that ought to bring some drama. So whenever they have to go up against each other, so that's very convenient, just in time for that. And we've got a love triangle, I guess, because Liz is well. I mean, we've never seen anything romantic between him and Liz, but we've been given the hint that those two are the ones who are supposed to come together. But who knows? Maybe it'll be Amy. I don't know. Amy with her cat, and yeah. So it wasn't a bad episode. I just felt like the part about the guy's mother faking her death was kind of not necessary, and is kind of a waste of time. But overall, the episode was pretty good.
Yeah, well, you remember the stuff with his mother better than I did, because I just remembered, let's see, there's some stuff with his mother. Yeah, I got nothing else. What I remembered better was the stuff with like the race where they were doing wasn't it more of like, I don't know what it's called. What's it called when you're not like directly racing against people, like at the time you just are trying to get like the record or whatever, like time trial maybe.
Time trial, yeah.
Wow, I got it right. Yeah, that was what was going on in this one, right? I think.
Yeah. You're right.
So yeah, it does look like it's setting up some potential romance here. The next episode is called I Like You, I Like You, I Love You. Is that where ReZero got the love, 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 love you episode title from? So actually, come to think of it, I'm just suddenly wondering, like, how was that written? The ReZero, sorry, not the ReZero, this one. It's I was just trying to see. Okay, so the original Japanese title of that IGPX episode is Suki Suki Daisuki. That means that literally rendered means like love. Well,
wait, what wasn't it that cycling show that was the theme song of the princess anime he watched, Yomamushi Pedal, remember? And they'd always sing that song and they go Suki Suki Daisuki, you know? That that was their the theme song of the princess show he watched.
yeah, maybe I can barely remember that, unfortunately. Yeah, but well, I said it means like love. More literally, it's like Suki means like in Japanese, as in like. Well, it's sort of weird. It's an adjective, from what I remember, but it's used to you use it to say something you like. and
Mhm.
daisuki means like really like or love. Like as in English, it can be used both like when you refer to people, it's usually you means like more romantically, but it can also just be used in things general to say you like it, like like I like anime or something. It's kind of like the Japanese verb gustar, basically in that way. So sorry, did I say Japanese verb gustar? I meant Spanish verb gustar. I don't yet. Japanese can't even do gustar. It would have to be like gusu taru or something. Okay, I meant Spanish. Yeah, gustar, which actually more literally means to please, but the way everyone understands or translates it is just to like reverse the subject and object and make translate it as like or enjoy or love.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's so literally it's just saying like love. It doesn't say you, but
Mhm.
I guess they did. I guess maybe it's supposed to be implied, so they just put it in there. Okay. All right, so we'll see how that goes. Maybe that might be a little more interesting. Although maybe it'll be one of those things where it's just like, well, we're together. Oh well, we're on opposing teams and we're going up against each other, and this isn't working. So yeah, let's break up. Maybe it'll be that.
Yeah, it probably will be, but I can hope. I can hope for something more interesting. So,
Yeah. Okay, so we are done with the Toonami series. Let's move on to the non-Toonami stuff. We have Classroom of the Elite episode 10.
oh boy. Okay, this episode has an incredibly stupid plot line. First you have some stuff with Suzune and the main character, Ayana Koji, visiting Class C, and they're just doing whatever they want. They don't really care. So that's that. And it's like, it gets Suzune really mad, but it's like, well, what good does it do her getting really mad about that? It doesn't really improve anything. And then we get this entire big plot line over these panties that were stolen, which is like, an obvious fan service thing, but these panties were stolen and it has to be one of the boys, so all the boys have to uh have their bags checked, and sure enough it ends up in one of the boys' bags, but he gives it to Ayana Koji, who just kind of like, okay, yeah, I'll take it. And doesn't even uh doesn't use any common sense, like, okay, look guys, this got planted in someone else's bag and then handed to me. I didn't do it. But instead of that, he gets patted down, and the person who did it, the patting down, decided to not tell on him, and that's pretty much about it. Uh, it was a pretty dull episode, in my opinion, and a pretty stupid one. My biggest problem is this whole thing about Horikita getting so angry. Like, what is she so angry about? She just gets angrier and angrier, and it's like, you've got to chill out a little bit. I mean, she's just going overboard on that. So yeah, that's that episode.
Yeah, I you're right that the plot of that was just kind of so once again what happens is it's missing and they just, well, you already said it, but the guy who then like finds it in his bag and says, wait, I didn't do it, so he just gives it to Ayana Koji, like you said, and I'm just sort of thinking, so apparently no one is paying much attention to the guys in line because no one noticed him taking it out and giving it to Ayano Koji. So clearly people aren't paying much attention. Why doesn't he just throw it into like the like the scenery or something? Like just take it, throw it over there or something, and someone probably wouldn't. I mean, I guess maybe someone could notice you if you see it, but it just does seem a little it just seemed like the way things were framed that no one was paying attention, so you might as well like do something like that.
Yeah, it really didn't make much sense.
Yeah. And it did indeed, like, even if you were found with it doesn't like someone could have planted it there. So yeah, it just seemed a little yeah, I don't know. Like I thought like the first half or so was okay, but once we got into that, it started getting a bit like uh
Awkward.
yeah, a bit dumber. I could say. All right. So we've got an observation log of my fiancée who calls herself a villainess, episode 10. So finally, Bertia decides to explain why she was intent to try to have Cecil and Heronia end up together. It turns out that this is basically at this point in the game, the heroine Heronia chooses which guy she ends up with, and basically the happiest ending for everyone is if she picks Cecil, and then she kind of runs down all of the other endings, which mostly involve some kind of war or something, and some of them involve Cecil dying. So Cecil's like, so after that, he's like, yeah, but that's not going to happen. I'm in love with you. And then that whole Maiden of Destiny thing, or was that what it's called? Yeah, it goes to Bertia, because in the game it went to Heronia, but it was just whoever he fell in love with. I don't know. Point is, she gets that little mark now, which shows their soulmates, I guess, and that's the episode.
Mhm. Yeah, we got to see all the bad ending, which
Uh-huh.
was interesting. I really had a hard time understanding the show up to this point, so this kind of clears some stuff up for me that she doesn't want a bad ending. Like, okay, I get that, but doing it at your own expense doesn't really make much sense. You want all these bad things to happen to yourself just so you could get the one ending. And um yeah, just a I I don't know. I can't say I wasn't interested in it because I was actually pretty interested in this episode more so than I usually am. I still don't understand why Bertia is so against falling in love with this guy whenever he's basically doing everything for her. So yeah, that's my problem there.
Well, basically, it was her goal was to try to have the plot go where Cecil and Heronia get together. That was why she not only didn't want her to get with herself to get with him, but she also made sure to pair off all the other potential people Heronia could end up with in the game to make sure it'd only be those two. But obviously, it didn't work out that way because both Bertia and Heronia were very different in this than they were in the original game. So that was what she was doing with all of that. So the whole idea was that you just wanted to get everyone to get the route that left everyone the happiest, even if it was at her own expense. So
Mhm.
that was basically it, which puts a bit more of a serious like veneer on what previously we thought was just her being goofy and dumb. Although there was
Yeah,
still some funny
yeah,
stuff in this episode with her.
Yeah. The other question is, why does he love her so much whenever all she's tried to do is sabotage him? You know, all she tried to do is sabotage him during these past 10 episodes and in love with her, you know?
Hmm. Well, mostly just kind of finds her interesting, I think was at least the original explanation. And there was the fact, I guess you can say, even with all the weird sabotage stuff, it wasn't anything that was like actually hurting him. It was it mostly amounted to her when you get down to it, playing hard to get, strictly when you get down to it.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious what's going to happen next because this seems to kind of be wrapping things up unless we're going to and given the tone of the show, I don't think we're going to, just be going, okay, full-fledged war. It'll probably be some way it all gets headed off like in the games, like best ending. So, but at the same time, I'm also like, it's weird. We've got 2 episodes left, which both seems a little too much and a little too little for the possible ways to resolve things. So we'll see how it goes. Okay. So, yeah. I will say I did appreciate because when we saw the first route, it goes in so much detail. I was thinking, uh-oh, are we just going to go in this amount of detail on every single alternate route? But then the
Yeah.
series didn't. It realized we've gone in detail on that one. We just need the Cliff's notes on the other ones, and that was a very smart decision.
It was, yeah. I thought the same thing you did. So I was like, okay, we're gonna go through this for a whole episode, maybe 2, but fortunately they didn't go that route. So
Yeah.
that was a good choice. Yeah, this is probably my favorite episode of this series so far.
All right. So after that, we move on to episode 10 of the Klutzy class monitor and the girl with the short skirt.
Okay, so as every school anime has to have, they have to have a school festival. And Akina is leading the whole festival and doing the whole thing. And her idea is let's make it into a American high school prom, which, by the way, I probably mentioned this on this podcast before, but I think it's interesting is that we were not allowed to have one at our school to the point where you could get suspended even if you went to one that was not sanctioned by the school itself. They were that strict about no prom. So yeah, we never got to have one. But apparently they're gonna have a prom there and Sucker Diamond's like, I can't have these illicit relationships, whatever that means. And so Poem says, okay, you're our enemy. And then they just go through planning and planning and planning. And there's more of this stuff with the president and the vice president, and the fact that he's still too stupid to know that it was her the whole time and all that. And uh, yeah, um, really not as satisfying as the last few episodes have been. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to mention that was a little funny was the bit where the vice student council vice president wants to, as he said, stop all the illicit relationships. So he's requiring things like, okay, they need to, let's see, people need to be like far enough away from each other. And what was it he called? He called like love transmission drug. I can't remember what the exact phrase he uses. The whole thing is obviously supposed to be a joke on, like all like the social distancing stuff during COVID. Because he
Mm-hmm.
like distinctly uses some sort of like phrase that sounds like you need to stay apart because when you're talking you could infect people. I can't remember. Oh
Yeah,
man,
it
I
was
wish I
like
written it down.
sexual distancing or something. It was social distancing, but it was a little different. I forget what it was. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, in the original manga, I think this would have been happening actually around that time because so I was looking it up. It looks like, at least I haven't read the chapters, but at least based on their titles, it looks like this would have been happening around like chapter 31. This premiered in early 2019. So yeah, this would have been like this or chapter would have been released like in mid 2021, which I think that that would have been a little bit past, I think, when some of those stuff was raised, but I guess that's the point in which, it's safe to make that kind of joke without people getting upset at you. So yeah. All right. Yeah, so it was a decent episode. I will say one random thing. The not directly with this episode, but how Poem's sister was named Lyric. I didn't really watch it, just I happened to be on the channel, but they're airing the current season of Big Brother, the reality show. One of the contestants on it, their name was Lyric. So
Wow.
yeah, I don't know what was up. I don't know what's going on this season. But I just happened to see, one of them is named Lyric. Huh.
We don't have many poems, so.
Not as far as I know, not on that season at least. I can't say about previous ones. There's been how many seasons of Big Brother in the United States at this point? Let me see.
31 or something like that.
It's this is its 28th season.
That was close.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you probably you're probably closer than I would have been if I had tried to guess.
yeah,
It's kind of funny, Big Brother, which in the off chance someone doesn't know, the premise is basically that it's Survivor in a house, more or less.
yeah.
At least in the US, because the original United Kingdom version, they didn't vote each other out. They would like just go in there and then the public would vote them out, like one by one. I think it was a little more complicated than that, but it was based on that. And then when they tried to do that in the United States, it didn't work very well because everyone just voted, because the audience like just voted out all the annoying ones right away, and then it was kind of boring. So then they just basically said, okay, well, for season 2, they're like, okay, that didn't work out. What's popular? Survivor. Yeah, let's just do Survivor in a house.
Mhm.
And then that worked in the US, so it's still running.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Did you ever watch like any of that show?
No, I have not. My mom has. My
Okay.
mom's seen a little bit of it, but I've never. I They had like reindeer games on a couple of Christmases ago, and they were watching that, and they said it was actually pretty good. So, yeah, but
I haven't seen it in a long time. I think I watched like it was like I watched if I remember correctly, I watched the end of season 3, then I watched like 4, 5, maybe 6. I watched like I watched for a while and then kind of lost interest after that. But it has been a long time since I've seen any of it.
Mhm.
Okay. So we move on to Liar Game episode 10. So now that Now has basically all the votes, we get some explanations about how, yes, she basically does owe everyone 70 million, but which means that if she reneges, she'll have to pay more money, but doesn't matter because everyone ends up giving her a ton of money to buy votes from her, or more directly, Akiyama, who basically just takes over all the stuff. A whole bunch of stuff happens. The result is that she ends up with basically all the money while everyone does that, and ultimately now actually just sets up. And and you were correct. Australian guy gets ends up losing, but now did that because no, you were the person who was nicest to me. So this is just my way of like setting you free from it. I'll just give you all the money to cover your debts, so you'll have no debts and you'll be out of this while everyone else will have to go on. And then she just gives everyone back all the money, which makes everyone happy. And she points out how if everyone, just shares all the money, then no one ends up in debt. So yeah, she figured something out and did something there. So, and then that's it. Everyone will move on to the next round, except for Australian guy.
Yeah. So this was very predictable. Like I knew last week it was going to be him because I'm like, okay, well, there's no way it'll be Fukunaga. Who's the only other player up to this point, up to last week's episode, that uh showed any sort of personality? And I'm like, okay, it was the Australian guy. So I'm like, okay, so it's got to be him. And so that was kind of predictable. Um, the interesting thing is with the liar game people who are intent on trying to test now or something. I'm not really sure what that was all about, but I'm assuming that they want to make this more cutthroat than everyone sharing the money and everyone getting out of debt, which is Now's idea. So hopefully there's something more than that because I'm getting a little bored with these endings of everyone ends up happy. You know, I mean, I want there to be actual stakes to these battles, not okay, well, everyone's just going to share the money anyway. So, which you're not allowed to do on Survivor, by the way. You can get thrown out of the game if you do that. And it happened one year wherever supposedly, now we aren't sure of this because it never aired, but supposedly during the final tribal council, it was revealed that one of the people had to deal with someone else to share money with them, and they got really mad and shut down production of the episode right there. It's like none of this is ever making it out. and so what happens is when you see the people putting their votes in, they're saying things, but you can't hear what they're saying because they edited it out. But yeah, so anyway, the point is that you can't do this on Survivor, but apparently you can do it in the liar game, and that's why everyone is ending up happy every time.
What is your well, what season was that? I'm kind of curious in looking that up. Do you remember anything about that in Survivor?
Yeah, that was Survivor Nicaragua.
Okay. I'm not going to like spend a ton of time. I just wanted to look up something about that quick. And sorry. Ignore that little alarm if it got picked up. So let's see. I don't see anything about it offhand, but I didn't search very hard, so I'll look into it later, maybe. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I enjoy. Honestly, I like the episode. I actually laughed at quite a few bits of it. Some of the stuff was actually quite funny. The way people were getting more desperate about things. I did. So I ended up liking it. I am excited for what's to come because from what I remember and what a lot of people say, the next one is pretty interesting. So we'll see if that's how it, if that's true or not. Okay. So we've then got Akane-Banashi episode 10. So Akane shows does the rest of the Jugamu performance and does it in as a kind of a laid back style, which ends up drawing everyone into it really well. And then as a result, she ends up winning. There's this kind of cool part where when the judge guy literally his comment after she gives it is just to ask what did he just said, young lady, you are aware you don't belong here performing with these others, don't you? And she goes, yes. That's a nice. Anyway, so yeah, she wins. So she gets to go and have the conversation with Isho, and then just right at the part immediately ask, so why did you expel my father for 6 years ago?
And then we get a cliffhanger.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, while I could see some of this coming, I was also pleasantly surprised by it. I expected this was going to be the usual thing where the main character loses the first thing. But whenever I heard that guy say the old mean guy say that you don't belong with these other people, I'm like, okay, he means that in a good way, not in a bad way. And then it's revealed that he meant that he thought she was a pro and that everyone else was amateurs. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I thought that was a good twist, even though I could see it coming. And yeah, what else was I going to say? Oh, and that other guy got his comeuppance, which was good to see that he didn't win like he was bragging that he was going to. So that was pretty good too. I didn't want that voice actors to win though, because I have no idea why she's been built up into a character whenever she has like no connection with Akane whatsoever. So I was glad she didn't win. But yeah, next episode we'll get the biggest question of this series answered, and hopefully in a satisfying manner.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a solid episode. I knew going in that I'd seen reactions. A lot of people thought it was a really good episode, and it seems everyone liked Isho's like, you do realize you don't belong here, don't
Yeah.
you? Line.
Uh,
There's actually this manga runs in Weekly Shonen Jump. This one other manga in it called Me and Roboco, which it's a series that it's a comedy series that a lot of times has references to other manga. And there's this one chapter where Roboco, the character, enters this Rakugo performance, and she does an absolutely terrible job. And then Isho asks her the same question. Except there, the whole joke is that she's just so terrible. He is asking her it. I can't remember what chapter that was offhand, but it was a funny subversion. Okay, so yeah, I did also the part where Akane was asking where her name came from. That made me like think, I can't remember where mine came from. So I called up my father and I'm like, hey, so where did my name come from? And then he says, I can't remember and I can't ask your mother because she's busy with something else. And unfortunately, that was about 1 hour before we started recording. I only saw this at the last minute. So I wasn't able to go back and find out. I think there was, I think it was a relative or something.
Yeah, mine is really hard to figure out because my dad was named Thomas. So
The funny thing is, well, not the full okay, so it's a story about how my sister got her name. Well, kind of. So my parents had narrowed it down to two names, Sarah and the other, which was her actual, which ended up being her actual name. Now I can't remember why they chose those two, but the reason she got her actual name instead of Sarah was because I don't know, I was like 5 or 6 at this point, but what they were talking about that, and I said, "Oh no, you shouldn't name her Sarah. There's this girl in my class named Sarah, and I don't like her at all." That apparently was convincing enough for them to go with her to rule out Sarah and use the other name. So that was kind of funny. Okay, so yeah, solid episode. All right, and that's all of them. We can move on to our picks for the best of Toonami and the best of the not Toonami series.
Okay, so um pretty easy picks this week for me. Alternative wins for Toonami again. Akane-Banashi wins for the non-Toonami, and Amy from IGPX is my best girl of the week.
It's a tricky one for Toonami because I thought they all were just kind of okay, but let's see, let me think. Yeah, I think ultimately, I mean, it really is just Superman or alternative for this one, and I think ultimately I ended up. I don't think. Yeah, I guess I'll just echo alternative. While I did like Liar Game, I do have to give it to Akane-Banashi for this episode with you. So saying that's a roundabout way of saying I have the same series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we what was it, Scavengers Reign and whatever other stuff they come up with will be more interesting, because right now with Toonami it seems I'm really just saying, well, what I keep thinking, and
What do
I'm
we
kind of
hate the least?
I wouldn't say hate the least, but I would say the least bad. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so
we'll
go ahead.
yeah, we'll see what we get, because they have to have more stuff unless they're going to, like, I don't know, be showing 3 episodes of Scavengers Reign.
Yeah, hopefully they decide to placate their anime fans and actually put on anime on the anime thing. Because it would be kind of pointless. All this just got changed to just like another night of whatever's on the rest of the week. But I think I'm holding out hope that it's going to stay with anime, and my biggest guess is that we'll get Bleach, because that will be the one that gets the most viewers. So hopefully that's what happens. We'll see, though. I mean, it's usually a bad thing to be optimistic about Toonami. So maybe, maybe I'm making a mistake here.
Yeah, I mean, Toonami wasn't always an anime block. When it premiered, it was just showing a bunch of old like stuff like Thundercats and Johnny Quest, and I mean I think they showed Voltron, which was originally an anime, although Voltron was from way back in the era in where a lot of stuff like nowadays anime, when it gets brought and translated, it stays pretty like true to the original. Like even if some things might get changed or localized or whatever, it's the same general basic show. Back then this was like things where they would like change things all the time. Like Robotech kind of notoriously took 3 unrelated anime series and kind of put them all to be the same series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Voltron was used stuff like something called Beast King Go Lion, but I know they edited and changed a bunch of stuff there. And of course, actually, maybe the ultimate example wasn't even an anime; it was Power Rangers. They just took like the fight footage from this Japanese show called Super Sentai, and then they just dubbed it over with then they just filmed their own plots apart from the power from like the stuff, like the stuff. The stuff with they're at the
Yeah.
school and doing all that stuff, and then they would just
Right.
have them transform, and then suddenly they would just use the stuff from the Japanese show. Zeo Ranger was the one that the first Power Rangers adapted. It's why when you look at it nowadays, you're saying, why does the video quality change so much and look so different as soon as they go into battle and stuff, or is the Yellow Ranger supposedly a girl? It looks kind of like a guy. Why is that? And that's because the character was male in the original series.
Mhm.
The Yellow Ranger. They actually kept up with that for a bunch of seasons before eventually just stopping saying, okay, look, if you're a guy in the original, you're a guy in Power Rangers. So
Mhm.
it is kind of funny when you look back at some stuff you don't realize, like the fact in the second season there of Power Rangers, they ended up with this weird thing where they had this new sort of Megazord, but they were using footage that was like made more for like the original one. So you'll notice when you and you can't really unsee it once you know it. The fact that when they're in like the giant robot and they're fighting the giant monster, the monster and the robot are never on screen at the same time.
Mhm.
So they're just fighting, but you only see one at a time. It's kind of funny looking back. Yeah. Later on, they kind of like did some of their own shots and things, but yeah, it is just kind of funny that that's what happened with Power Rangers. They just took all this action stuff. It was just funny because I remember in Super Mario RPG when you meet the Axum Rangers, and I was thinking, oh, Power Rangers must be really popular if they're like making jokes of it in this Japanese game. But no, they were just
Mhm.
spoofing the original Super Sentai. Actually, I'm sorry to go on another tangent. What were the Axum Rangers originally called in Japanese? Let me. I'm just kind of curious. Oh, just the Axe Rangers. Okay, so they're pretty close then.
Yeah. I think I got to the point in my life where I just was unable to tolerate RPGs anymore. My attention span became so short that I just couldn't do it anymore. So, I don't know if I'm ever going to get to some of these RPGs I have in my game library. I have a bunch of them. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get like the Donkey Kong game for the Switch 2. Uh, I started playing that, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm never gonna get around to beating this thing, so I just sold it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting though about the Axum Rangers and the Power Rangers, all that. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, all Power Rangers, all that stuff was from this long-running Japanese show called Super Sentai, which ironically Power Rangers they stopped it at least for now. It's one of those series that who knows it could come back at any time. But Super Sentai, it's not canceled exactly, but it's at least on a break now. So
Now I've heard the word to describe that as like Tokukatsu or something.
yes, that's the term used for that sort of uh thing. Is it Tokutatsu? Hang on, let me make sure I'm saying it right.
Tokukatsu, I think.
Tokusatsu. Yes, it's
Not
basically
okay.
yeah, live action like shows that like use a lot of as Wikipedia is explaining it, practical special effects. They're best known. I mean, one of the big things is how many of them, always have the guys going out and fighting in like that armor stuff or like those, outfits, which have the convenient fact of it allows you to, just use however many stunt doubles you want without anyone noticing. But yeah, two of the most famous ones are Super Sentai. There's also a Kamen Rider. Is that one still going on? I think. Let's see. Some of these, yeah, I think that one's still going on. So yeah, that's Tokusatsu. There's a lot of like anime stuff that will reference them. I mean, there's just so many like like things that, but when you were a kid and you saw it in anime, you think, oh, that's a Power Rangers parody, and you think nowadays you realize, no, it's a Super Sentai parody.
Mhm.
All right. Well, that's our digression on that. So, anything else to talk about?
Yeah. So I watched some more of Tokyo Revengers season 2. I watched 3 episodes, and yes, Takamichi gets beaten up in all 3 of them, and just in increasing fast in each time. Like the first time's like, okay, he got beaten up, but it wasn't that bad. Second time's like, okay, he got really beaten up. That's really bad. Third time, he really got beaten up. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but basically, it's one of those cases where it's so bad it's good. You know, like the plot is so stupid, and some of the stuff is so stupid where they're just like standing there talking to each other all these sentimental things while the bad guy stands right by them and just decides to watch the whole time while they're saying all this stuff and all their plans. We're gonna do this. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get this. And the bad guy's just standing there and not doing anything about it. So yeah, it's the stuff. I mean, it is really stupid, but it's entertaining because it's so bad. So so that's why I feel like I want to keep on watching it because I'm just kind of hooked, even though it's dumb. The plot lines just do not make any sense, and uh, yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna have to suffer through this a second time if Toonami ever gets. But at least you'll have to suffer with me, so it won't be as bad. So.
I ended up as it went along on Toonami feeling a lot like you do, where the series I thought, yeah, there's a lot of kind of dumb stuff here, but it is kind of entertaining on that, and there is at least enough of a plot to make me want to see what happens next. So
Yeah.
so yeah, it's a very pulp series, I guess you could say.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, well, meanwhile, all I'm just doing, well, I've been watching a bunch of it. I've been trying to catch up on. I decided, okay, let's get back to trying to like watch stuff in Spanish, get better at it because I've been kind of trying to do that with like finding some anime that's dubbed in Spanish, but I'm like not good at getting myself to consistently do it. So I'm like, okay, what about telenovelas? Maybe I'll check out one. So I just like saw, okay, this one isn't too far in yet in its airing. So I'll just try to catch up on the episodes and then watch it. So I've been doing a whole bunch of that.
Mhm.
Mostly caught up. Yeah. You know, I've noticed one thing. Generally, the less the less of a telenovela is, I feel that the more I actually like it.
Mhm.
Like if they're like if I was saying, okay, if I take out the main romance, like how is this show? And the answer, and that's like usually the answer of whether I
Mhm.
like it or not. Yeah. So I've been working on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are in telenovelas are kind of interesting in that unlike soap operas, they do have a concrete beginning and end. But on the other hand, that means that once it's done, there's no guarantee the next one that replaces it will actually be like as good. So yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I've got on enough about digression, so maybe some other time I'll have more to say about that.
Okay.
So, in the meantime, yeah, nothing in the meantime other than the time between podcasts, I guess. So, everyone, we will see you all next week for more of the same.
Bye.
If you missed season 3 of My Adventures with Superman,
we've got you covered.
are you ready?
I am ready.
We're running back the entire season, but we can't fit it all in one night.
So we've got 5 episodes next Saturday and 5 the following week.
Check out our My Adventures with Superman season 3 first half marathon.
Next Saturday from midnight to 2:30 a.m.
Only Toonami, an Adult Swim.